Hello, beautiful people. Today, I will be telling my testimony. So basically, I never really grew up in the church. I didn't start going to church until I was like 18 or 19 years old. I was never a Christian before, so I never really believed in God, really. I believed there was like a higher power because, why not? What explains all the things that happened in my life and stuff like that. But I pretty much believe the zodiac signs, and I believe in tarot cards and psychics and stuff. And right now, I don't believe in that stuff anymore because I feel like zodiac signs aren't biblical. That's another video, and I feel like that's my own opinion. So basically, I believed there was a higher power, but I didn't know that it was God, if that makes any sense. Pretty much when I started to believe in God, it was like a whole bunch of stuff happening to me all at once. Like I was lying, almost cheating. And I was hanging out with some people in my life that I don't hang out with anymore. And when I was hanging out with them, I was basically, like I said, drinking and smoking and all that stuff. And my life was basically I was living a life that wasn't mine pretty much. And I wanted out, but I didn't know that Jesus was the only way out until now. I didn't really believe in God, but I said a prayer. I was like, God, if there are people in my life that are supposed to be in my life, then let them be. But if they're not supposed to be in my life, let them out of my life. And everyone that I was pretty much hanging out with, gone. They're not dead or anything like that, but they're just not in my life anymore. And God had me in this isolated point where he had me reflect on my thoughts and myself and all my decisions basically in my whole life. And he was basically giving me a review of my life and a reflection basically. And he's like, are you gonna choose me or are you gonna choose the world? And I chose God basically. And things just started going from there. I started believing in God when I was 18 or 19. I didn't know what Christianity was really, and I didn't know about the Trinity and about Jesus. I knew that Jesus died on the cross to save us, but I didn't know why he did all that and stuff like that. Pretty much went into college as a Christian, kind of. My freshman year, it was the second semester of my freshman year when I started believing in God, and I joined this organization called Delight, and I go to Towson University. And it was this girl, and she gave me a card and invited me. And I didn't really go at first, but then when I went for the first time, it's I felt so safe and secure, and I felt like I couldn't be judged as a Christian and stuff like that. And it was just awesome from there. And I'm really glad that she invited me because I feel like that's when I started believing in God really, because of her and God. God put certain people in my life to help me build up my faith. And I think that's amazing. I recently had a encounter with both the devil and God last semester, and it was horrible. I was really getting into my faith, and I was growing stronger with Christ, and I guess the enemy saw that I was, and it was really crazy. I was being more clumsy and I was falling more, and it was just so horrible to the point that I went into the hospital. And before I went into the hospital, I was just reading the Bible so much to the point that, like, I brought my Bible everywhere with me. Yeah, it was just horrible. The enemy was telling me that I was alone and that I should kill myself. And of course I didn't listen to that voice, but that voice was there. So I started fasting with my church, and like this is the first fast that I ever did. I think it was like it was basically an intermediate fast with my church. So they basically gave us a paper saying what we can eat and what we can't eat and what hours we can or cannot eat. And I started fasting, and that was the first time I started fasting. I wasn't on any social media or anything like that. Like I wasn't on TikTok anymore, wasn't on Instagram anymore, wasn't on Facebook, wasn't on Snapchat anymore, wasn't on Twitter, anything like that. I just pretty much shut out all social media when I started building my relationship with Christ, so that I can figure out like who I am as a person with or without Christ, you know. I started fasting, and I started to hear God's voice more. And so I started fasting with my church. And when I was fasting, like a lot of things were revealed to me. It was like God was actually speaking to me. Like I can hear God's voice so clear. I basically was getting more involved more, was getting better grades, was overall going to the gym more, doing a lot better for myself. It was one day when I realized that I wasn't eating at all. And apparently it wasn't normal because, like, it was my first time fasting, so I didn't really understand. I guess my body was fasting on itself, and I realized that I wasn't eating anything, like, at all, or, like, drinking anything. And it was, like, I didn't really know it myself until I started, like, losing weight and stuff like that. And then that's when I started fainting and stuff. Didn't really understand it. And then it was one day when I started like shaking. And I think it was like a combination of like depression and anxiety. And one day I was in my room with my roommate, and I cut all my lashes off, my eyebrows, and my hair off. And I put myself in this towel, and I guess I was going through like an episode or something like that, and I didn't really understand it. And I was just asking her, like, I was basically yelling at my roommate, throwing scripture at her and saying, like, oh, like, if God says this, then why in the Bible it says this and stuff like that. And she was basically reassuring me that God loves me and all that. And she basically like calmed me down. But like a couple of days later after that, I had no control over my body whatsoever. It's like I was there, but I wasn't there. And I was basically like shaking all over, shaking. It got so bad where she had to call the school police. And they brought me in there, and they were asking me questions like, what's wrong? What happened? Do you take medication? All that stuff. And it's like I was trying to speak to them, but I couldn't talk. And they strapped me down. And it's like this carrier that they put people in when they put people in going to the hospital, like in the ambulance. And I basically went to the hospital, and they had me in the psychiatric ward, basically. Apparently, like, I got so sick to the point where, like, I wasn't eating at all. And it was so horrible. And my stomach, I think I can have like a video or picture of my stomach. Like my stomach was literally like so small and so skinny. Like you can see my bones, like my rib cage. It was crazy. Anyways, they were trying to feed me and stuff. They were trying to do my blood draw, and my blood even come through. Like that's how sick I was. Like my blood was even coming out because I wasn't eating at all for like, I want to say a couple days up to like a week. I wasn't eating at all. They had me in here. I was in the hospital for like a week, and I met some nice people in that hospital. I basically didn't understand why God had me in that hospital, but he did. And as soon as I went in the hospital, I was trying to walk around, and then immediately seizure. It was like one of those type of seizures where you're like awake, of course, like you're conscious. Like I was conscious of like what was going on, but I just couldn't control my body. And all I know is I started shaking and like going down, and they had me on 101. They had gave me a sitter basically. So it's this person that walks around with you like everywhere you go, and it's kind of annoying. But as personally, like as a nurse, I'm a nurse tech, by the way. I was able to see how my patients at my hospital felt personally when you're at a hospital. And I didn't really understand it at first, but now I do. It's like I felt like I was trapped in that hospital. Like I couldn't go anywhere. Like I didn't touch any grass or anything for like a whole week. Like imagine that. But anyways, like the people were very understanding and they were very nice. And people were like asking me about God and stuff. But like personally, like not personally, but when you're in like a public space and stuff, people prefer for you not to talk about that stuff, like Christ and stuff, like in public, because they think it's like a sensitive topic and stuff. God carried me through everything. And how I got my job, basically, I went to my high school called Reach Partnership High School. It's like the old Lake Clifton building on Harford Road. I'm in Baltimore, Maryland, by the way. They told me that they had culinary in that school, and I guess they didn't have culinary anymore. So they had HVAC, they had security, they had JROTC, they had pharmacy, they had construction, and I think they had nursing. And basically it was either between construction and nursing, and they picked me for nursing. And at first, like, I didn't like nursing at all. Like, I didn't see myself doing nursing. I didn't see myself like taking care of people and stuff like that. And my mom used to take care of people and stuff like that. Like she used to give medicine and to her clients and her patients, and she used to work in people's houses and stuff like that. I went to clinicals, and they were like cleaning the patients up, and I was like, oh, I'm not cleaning up patients and stuff, because I just saw it as like wiping patients down and stuff, and like all the urine and the fecal matter and stuff like that. I was just seeing it as a bad thing. But I grew into nursing. I didn't like it at first, but I grew into nursing, and I'm just so glad and appreciative that God gave me such a profession. Nursing is life, I'm telling you. But yeah, long story short, I got an apprenticeship through my school, and I got CPR certified, and I got my clinical hours done. I had 40-hour clinicals, and so basically I got my I got into the apprenticeship after being asked so much questions and stuff like that. And I had so much interviews and stuff like that. And I just been through so much overall through life. And yeah, I'm really glad that God has me and I have him and stuff like that. I had an apprenticeship. Through the apprenticeship program, I basically got the job. So I was working there from 17 to now. And I'm 20, about to be 21, by the way. So I was basically working there from like 17 and a half years old till now. And I basically had a job at a hospital before my freshman year of college. And I'm so glad that nursing came about. And I want to be a travel nurse, by the way. Like, I want to heal God's children and do as much as I can as God's vessel to help God's children. And I know my video was pretty longer than my other videos, but I hope you like this video. And yeah, God bless. Don't be stressed.